Hello, everybody, and welcome to Asgard. Today, I wanted to give you a quick review of a movie I just saw today called Yesterday. Yesterday is an excellent film by Danny Boyle. For those that don't know the work that Danny Boyle has done, he's done some truly amazing work. He did 127 Hours, which was a very well done film that really got everyone realizing that James Franco has a lot of acting potential and a lot of acting talent, and a bunch of other films as well. And so I really do appreciate, first and foremost, the style of this film because it has Danny Boyle's name all over it. And if there's one thing that one can say about his movies, even though some may not be completely fond of the stories he tells, I honestly think that he has a very unique vision that is definitely refreshing to watch. Just the way that the camera is oftentimes situated, and just the overall, the human spirit that he tries to capture in all of his films, I think is always done very well. And so just a quick thing, Yesterday is the movie about a world in which the Beatles never existed, and there is one person who happens to be a musician who is the only one that remembers them. And so he starts to realize, wait a minute, I have all of their songs and all their lyrics in my head, so what can I do with that? And of course, it does not take long for him to start to find fame, claiming certain songs as his own. The movie is a lot more complex than that. It really dives into the morality of this type of situation, also just the impact that that has overall. For example, now that the Beatles never existed, those individuals, though, all the members of the Beatles still exist in this world, and so they're able to kind of, go into the, okay, so what would have happened to those people if that did not, if they never actually became the Beatles, but also now in current day 2019, what would those songs and how would those songs have an impact on the overall music industry? And also, too, what would music executives do with this situation if they had these songs and these lyrics? And I really just do love how they're able to show that, today's modern music is just so bad in comparison, even though they have Ed Sheeran in this film as an actor and as someone who's basically saying, oh my God, your lyrics are so amazing and so much better than mine. And they have that modern music personality in there. It is definitely something that I think is interesting that they are willing to really go after and really kind of expose that this is the type of music that was written by so few people. I remember back in the day when songs used to be written by usually one person, two person, or at least the entirety of a band. Nowadays, most big pop hits, most big rock hits even, are all written by 1,000 different people and 1,000 different writers. In fact, I don't think there's any modern day pop stars I can really think about that all write their own lyrics to all of their songs. And so it really is an interesting commentary on that. And Kate McKinnon is the one that plays his eventual manager for the big studio. And to be honest, I've never been a huge Kate McKinnon fan in her films. I think that she's a great personality on Saturday Night Live, and I think that she does her roles very well and those characters very well. The problem with her movie portrayals is that she always plays the same role in every single film. She's always going to play some type of eccentric or crazy person. And when you start to see that often and over and over and over again, it gets very old very, very quickly. And so I just did not ever really like her being on the screen because I've just seen it so much already, and it was just not that interesting. What was very interesting and very compelling about this film was the supporting cast and also, of course, the two leads. Lily James is truly a triumph. I'm really sad that she's not getting more work in film. For those that don't know, she was in the live-action adaptation of Cinderella, and she was actually, actually sang a lot of those songs, even though the movie didn't feature those songs live in the movie. If you stay toward the credits and everything, they actually end up playing some of those songs recorded from the original Cinderella musical. And she has a wonderful voice. She has a wonderful presence on screen. She's always just been very dynamic on screen, and the chemistry that she and the lead in this role have with each other is truly spectacular. So let's see, the role was played by Himesh Patel, and I've never seen him in anything before. One, he has a wonderful voice. It's really nice to see him singing those songs, and in fact singing live in many situations, and the way they were able to capture that worked very well. But also too, the chemistry that him and Lily James have with each other is very real. You believe it on screen, and that's what I always say. Anytime there's a romance on screen, I want to believe that those two characters would actually be a couple and actually would like each other in real life, and it just seems like they did. I would imagine that behind the scenes on the movie, they just got along very well together, because you can kind of really see that on screen. Now, of course, many people have been able to fake relationships even when they've hated each other behind the scenes, but it really just does seem like they had that genuine relationship, or at the very least that genuine chemistry, and she's been able to show that. Lily James especially, she was the female love interest in the movie Baby Driver, which is another fantastic film, and she was wonderful in. But this film is very interesting to me because a world without the Beatles. Now, to me, I think that if you hate Beatles music and you don't like, or you think it's overrated, you think that the impact that it had on culture was kind of overdone, and you wish it didn't happen, you probably won't like this film because it's very much talking about how the world was made better by the music of the Beatles. And obviously, I fall more into that category because I recognize just the amount of the power that their music has, the beauty of a lot of their lyrics, and just the cultural impact that they had on society and on our culture. But also, too, I'm also not one of those, diehard Beatles fans either. So it can be a little preachy sometimes as to how important the actual songs and how important the Beatles are for the world, essentially. And of course, if you dive too deep into the story, when you realize, oh, wait a minute, so, obviously the Beatles are no longer existing, but wouldn't that change a lot more than just that, them people not remembering who they are? And they do kind of play at that a little bit, though, of course, I think that it probably would have meant to a lot more would have happened to the world, where basically they start to reveal that certain other qualities and certain other products also never came to existence, things like Coca-Cola, which I found interesting. So they kind of play with that butterfly effect of if you change one thing, it's going to change a bunch of things, but I don't feel like they changed enough, because obviously this guy who became a musician loves the Beatles' music, and so therefore it would have affected his own passion for music, because he would not have had that one musical group to really look up to. Now, of course, he could have still gone on to be a musician, but I think it would have changed some of the things that he'd done in his life. But of course, that's when you dive too deep into it. You dive way too much into it, and the movie does not try to say, we are going to handle this time travel element, perfectly. They definitely try and show this more as a, could you imagine if this were to happen, and if someone was given and, put in this position? And I think it's very well done. Is it the perfect film? No. Is it a film that you have to go run out and see? Not necessarily, but I do think it's a good time. I do think that it's a movie that I personally will probably want to watch at least one point again. I think my wife would personally really enjoy film, so I wouldn't mind seeing it again. So I'm going to give this film a solid B. I think it's very well done. It's a very interesting take on this story, and it would be really cool to see Hollywood put out more stories like this, where it's more of an original take. It's not based on previous material, even though it's not the most, crazily original idea. It's not like no one could ever have come up with this idea, or they haven't played around with these ideas of what if one thing changes, and what if one person is aware of it but no one else is. Obviously, that's something that's come around before, but to be done in this way with this much passion and also this much skill and technical skill, especially, it's very well shot, very beautiful. Well edited as well. I think it's definitely worth seeing. But anyway, guys, have you seen it yesterday? Did you like it? Please let me know in the comments below. Also, guys, please make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if you have not done so already. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful day, and as always, God bless.